Happy Sunday. This is PFG Live, the podcast dedicated to the writings of internet philosopher Hey Man, Why Didn't Ya? Who asks, hey man, why don't you just use a paper towel to filter out your coolant like I do? Welcome aboard. We've been having a lot of fun in the Discord. Let's see, who do we have here? We have Evils checking in with 24.3 and 8.0. I have no idea what that means. Dale is here from the part of Canada not on fire this year with 18 science, 80% relative humidity, and raining. We could use a little rain. Bill Olney from the Rome, New York, home of the Air Force Research Labs, where it is 82 degrees Frankenstein, sunny, generating 5.2 kilowatts. Keep doing it. Josh says the audio is check. Much appreciated. At Charlie Yankee Whiskey Golf, which is somewhere near Winnipeg, winds are 190 at 10, gusting 16. Visibility 15 miles. Few clouds at 4,000. Broken at 16,000. Temperature 2.22. Altimeter 2980. Remarks. The density altitude is 2,700 feet. Go figure. Eric Moore is with us saying, talking about bagels. Hiram minimum. Is it a local minimum or a global minimum? That's what I want to know. Says Strasburg, Ohio is at 78 degrees Frankenstein and smoke-free. A smoke-free environment. Over on the YouTube side, let's see, we have Mr. Machined Creations, where he says it's about 85 in south central Idaho. Keep those potatoes and onions going. Mr. Carl Tauber in the People's Republic of Rhode Island reports 75 degrees and sunny. And I can concur. Here in the Windham, New Hampshire, it is 75 degrees and sunny. 44% relative humidity, and the winds are out of the northwest at 13. Let's see. Who else is in here? Well, we're the more people are filing in, you guys could just take any seats. It doesn't matter. There's some sandwiches in the back, some bagels. Earlier, I was asked on the standby card, what's in the middle of the bagel, and there's only one correct answer. It's lox, dude. You put okay. Let's just go. We got to go over the bagel. Okay, the bagel is cut in half horizontally as it lays on the table, and it is then, you could lightly toast it, you could not lightly toast it, and then you give it a schmear. A schmear is cream cheese, okay? You could put, after the cream cheese, you put lox, okay? And Evils misunderstood and used liquid oxygen, which makes the bagel hard. Now, you need capers. Capers go on top of the lox. Now, there's various other schools of thought on this, but then the next thing you do is you just eat that sucker because it is yummy. Okay? Clarified? Are we good, Eric? Do you stone it before or after toasting? After, always. Toasting not only raises the Brunel hardness, but it also can cause warpage due to the heat treatment. So always stone it afterwards. And off they go into the weeds. I love it. Well, welcome aboard. It is a beautiful day here. The Manchester Airport, the only true authority as to the weather in New Hampshire, is reporting winds are 330 at 17, gusting 26 knots, with 10-mile visibility, few clouds at 5,500, temperature 2.08, nice and dry. Altimeter 2973, and there are remarks with a peak wind that was pretty windy. So yeah, we have a little wind here today. I have not been out in it, but as I look outside, the trees are blowing around, so I guess that's true. But if you are here for the first time and you're wondering what the hell you got yourself into, I am so sorry, but you'll be okay. Let's see. Today, did I miss your weather report? Let's see. Where's your weather report? Okay, I got you. Mr. Eric Moore reports Kansas City is under a heat and hazardous weather advisory. That's Kansas City, Missouri, for those of you from out of town. 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 degrees science, 85% relative humidity, 20 miles an hour, southern winds gusting to 26, with a chance of thunderstorms this evening. And that's the report from Kansas City, Wait a minute. It's not Missouri. Is it Kansas? I think Eric told me there's like 5 Kansas. Yeah, it's what? Huh? Okay, we're figuring this out, people. It's not Missouri, it's Kansas. Kansas City metropolitan area. Excellent. That's the report from Kansas City. Okay, so welcome aboard, everyone. We have a few topics to talk about today, and I'm sure you'll end up completely unbalanced as a result. Community notes. I didn't see anybody turn in any community notes today. I should double check. Yeah, from now on, Eric, you should say the Kansas City metropolitan area something. Just checking the, making sure that we didn't miss anybody on the server. No, we didn't miss anybody. So there's no community notes. Last week, we discussed we discussed another session of filtering, and we're going to put the ribbons on that today. There's the main story and 2 sub-stories under the heading of final filter fiddling follow-up, and we will do that, I think, first, and then we'll get into the other half of balancing, and we'll put the ribbons on that, and then we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Before we get into that, I guess under community notes, if you looked at the thumbnail, you may have noticed a PFG stone in a configuration you haven't seen before. So let's see if I can get you a better picture of it. So I get this call from Mr. John Saunders of Saunders Machine Works, in which John says, hey man, he says, can you make a really tiny PFG stone? And I said, yeah, we could do that. And if this sounds familiar, that's because the original minis, the PFG stones known as the 4M, started with one of our wonderful members of our community, Aaron. And Aaron was I guess at the time, a journeyman, and needed some stones that would fit in his toolbox, and that the other stones were too big. So he said, hey man, can you make a smaller set of stones? So I made the minis for him, and it was a big hit, huge hit. So the minis came out of that interaction, and they are available on the website, which, it's over there, pfgstones.com. Then later, I get a call from Mr. Adam Demuth. Does anybody know him? Anybody in the chat know Adam Demuth? And Adam is a magnificent toolmaker and machinist and all-around good guy. And he said, I need a little stone to get to the bottom of a cavity. Can you make a little 2-inch round thing? I think I came up with the 2-inch round thing, and he said, that's perfect. So we made the 2-inch round thing, and that's called the Roundel, and that's also on the website. That's a standard product. And that was really cool because it was really a stone that was designed to go on a grinder. So it has a hole in the middle, and when you put it down into something, and you could just barely get to it, you could still get to that hole with your finger and do your stoning at the bottom of a cavity. So that was pretty neat. Well, along comes Mr. Saunders, and he says, I want something that's the size of a postage stamp. So I'm like, all right. So we took the mini stones and we cut them in half. And for this first test, it was done with an angle grinder with a 4.5-inch diamond wheel. Funny story. I was contemplating getting a tile saw, which is a wet saw that's used by guys that put tile in, you know. And I was hemming and hawing, and then John wanted these stones. The need to start cutting stones was getting bigger and bigger. I did not want to reconfigure the grinder into the diamond wheel, which I have. So he pushed me over the edge. So I head for Home Depot, and I pick out a pretty reasonable $400 investment in a tile saw. And I pull the box out at Home Depot. You know, it's pretty quiet, and I'm reading the box, and the question on my mind was, does it come with the blade, the saw blade? So I'm looking at the box, and I'm trying to read the ingredients, and I'm like, okay. And I said, oh, maybe the saw blades are up here. And I stand up, and right at eye level, I am staring at 4.5-inch diamond saw blades meant for an angle grinder, designed for it. Hi, Robin. Welcome aboard. Robin says, HF tile saws work great. HF is not high frequency for you guys in the radio biz. That's Harbor Freight at sawing stones. Well, so I see this 4.5-inch diamond wheel. Actually 3 flavors of it. I picked the one that I thought was the best. And I said, you know what? For this project, I'm just going to buy this blade. And it was $28 or something. So I brought it home. I did not spend the $400. I took one of these little mini stones, and I clamped it to a piece of wood, and outside, like a piece of flat wood, flooring actually. And I had my safety glasses on. I put my respirator on because it was going to kick up all sorts of stuff, and I was ready for drama. And I touched that blade to that stone on my angle grinder, and it was like cutting cream cheese. No, it was like cutting cheesecake, more accurate. It was easy. So I cut the stones in half and threw them back on the bench in the shop and proceeded to make these stones. And they came out lovely. Now, on these specials, just to, let you know that they were specials, all 6 faces on each stone are ground. So usually we don't grind the ends, but because they were so small and cute, it was actually pretty easy to grind the ends. They are nominally square, yes. But like I said, if you read the product information page, pfg.gg/stones, it will say what I'm going to say right now, which is nominally it is absolutely ground square, but it's not a guaranteed specification. If you have an application where it has to be ground square, you should let me know. Proteum Machining, welcome aboard, Dylan. He says, are these going to end up being a store item? Salesman samples would be a fun stocked item. Yeah, so I have a rule, and if I hear from 7 guys that says they want to buy them, then they become a standard product. They have a part number. They're not on the website yet, but if you bug me, you will click up that counter up to the required 7. Let's see. Sebastian says, as long as you don't case harden the bagel with KCN, should be good. Yeah, do not use potassium cyanide on your bagel. Do not. How much will they be? I can't say. So I will tell you this: they take as much or maybe more effort than the regular minis. So they're not going to be. They will not be cheaper than the minis. Put it that way. That's the floor of the cost. They won't be cheaper than the minis. So that's the story, and I'll show you another funny picture here because it's worth it. Of course, I was sending this to Mr. Saunders. So as you saw in the thumbnail, they were appropriately engraved, not for use on lathes.
Lathe tooling.
Thank you very much. So that's the story on that little stone. It came out really great. I made a set for me, and I made a set for John. And if enough people yell about it, we'll make it a standard product. Let's see. If the sides aren't guaranteed to be square, could you grind them and then saw them to size? Yes. Technically, you can grind them and then saw them to size. However, I don't want to do that. And it has to do with the possible insult to the PFG ground sides. And I don't want to take that risk in sawing them apart. Can you add a hole for a keychain? Says Josh. Josh, for you? No. But thanks for asking. Anyway, they came out great and they're cute and off they go. I didn't bring up my set. I should have brought it up for show and tell live, but you just have to trust me. So that's the story on the PFGS 2Ms, which stands for micros. How's that for original? So let's see. That was community notes. Anybody else have community notes? We'll get your information in here. Okay. So how small? Dylan says, "How small can you go?" is the real question. You're not testing me, are you? So, Evil's calculated that I gained 120 grams in my 1 micron filter. Yeah, so I posted the picture. It's in the thumbnail. I posted the picture, and in the upper right-hand corner of the thumbnail is the picture of the clogged up 1 micron filter from last week. And yes, that was about 120 milligrams. It was not 120. No, I'm sorry. You're right. It was 120 grams. Right. 120 grams was the declared end of life for that filter. And that means it was doing a good job. Eric says, send them to me. I'll poke a hole in it for you. Just don't ask me to put it somewhere specific. Oh, man. I actually have some diamond tools that I made for a project over 20 years ago. And by saying I made them, I designed the shaft, had them machined, and then had another company do the diamond incrustation on the end of that. And that was a project I don't ever want to do again. But they're here somewhere. Maybe one day we'll chuck one up and drill a hole in a stone. So filtering. So yeah, the filtering went really well in actual use. And as you guys know, I was shooting for 10-10-10. I was shooting for 10 hours of operation while grinding PFG stones, a 10-minute filter change, and $10 of cost of materials. That was my limits. And so far, I think we're there. The one place that was I wasn't happy with was opening up the filter housing and pulling out the filter while the housing was still kind of full of fluid. So it didn't work well, because if you pulled it out, you'd have some dirty coolant that'll fall down onto the clean side. Okay. And I didn't like that. So in discussions, Dale says nobody likes a soggy filter. I know what you mean. In discussion with others, I decided to go ahead and put the drain on the bottom of the filter. So the filter had a drain plug, or has a drain plug. And I'll show a little slideshow here. And it went really pretty well. I had to figure out, without disconnecting it from the system, I was able to pull out the drain plug and let the existing fluid in there drain into a tub, which as you see on your screen. Take note, by the way, of the nameplate on the filter housing. That's a story coming up shortly. Let's see. So that's what it looks like when you've drained the filter from the bottom and you look down the hole from the top. You see the filter that's jammed in there. And this is actually a pretty new filter. So this is one that I had just put, I don't know, maybe an hour on or something. It was pretty fresh. May not look that way, but it is. And I went ahead and I figured out, I flipped the thing over and I found the drain plug and went ahead and pulled out the drain plug and put in my lineup of items. So here's the valve and the connection to a 1/4-inch plastic tubing. So in normal operations, of course, that valve will be closed as it is in this picture, and that piece of plastic tubing goes off to the top of the band filter tank. And you can see that in this picture. Okay. It just pokes into a hatch, which is at the top of the band filter. So now, and this is the best part of it. If I decide I need a filter change because my pressure gauge indicates I need it, that means that the input to the filter is its nominal 7.5 pounds or so, and the output of the filter near the NOS, go to pfg.gg/NOS. That drops to 2.5 pounds from 5.5 pounds. That's the signal to change the filter. So with this configuration now, with one hand, I published a video for the guys on Discord. With one hand, I was able to swing the top off, open the drain valve, and it drained quickly enough that I was able to reach in and pull the filter out. And at that point, if you stop the clock, I was at 3 minutes. So if you say, golly, if you reverse that process, that's another 3 minutes. And if you screw around with the filter, that's another minute. We're up to 7 minutes on the filter change. That is under 10 minutes by anybody's measure. So I think we're there. I think we've done it. And I was really surprised because it's a 1 micron filter and it was somewhat used. I didn't think it would drain that quickly, but it drained pretty quickly. I'm sure when it's at end of life, it's going to take longer. But I think we've hit the 10-minute requirement. And I'm really happy about it because now I can live with that 1 micron filter and not impact my production rate. Now, referring to an earlier conversation, Eric says, Legos are good, but they aren't flat enough. Now, offering the Lego brick flatstone, the LBFS, your next castle or Star Destroyer now within 0.02 millimeters flatness. I don't know if I can guarantee that the Star Destroyer would be, but certainly the castle would be. Absolutely. Yeah, Lego bricks, I talk about diversions. Lego bricks are remarkably good because their requirements are very, very, very tight. I knew a guy who worked at Polaroid. Hi, John. He worked at Polaroid, and they did their own injection molding. And they made their own injection molds. They did some really cool stuff back in the day. And when the systems were not in production mode, they wanted to keep the machines warm and moving. They'd flip in their Lego look-alike molds, and they would start making Lego bricks or Lego-like bricks. And then they'd switch back when they had to go back to production mode, and they accumulated these huge bags of these Lego-like bricks. And they gave them away to employees at holiday time, which I thought was pretty cool. So the kids of these Polaroid employees just had more Lego bricks than you knew what to do with. So getting back to this. So I was pretty happy with this solution. So now we get to the procurement of the filters, because if you can't get the filters, you can't use the filtering process. As you are no doubt aware, I bought these filters on McMaster-Carr. And I wonder, I forgot to do something. I'll do it right now. I have a McMaster-Carr surprise for you. Is everybody paying attention? In my process of going to McMaster-Carr, I got somebody on the phone. This was actually when I was building the housing. I had a problem with a gauge. I had a problem with the housing requiring that I retap the NPT hole for the gauge, that the screw eyes were a little chewed up and I had to put a die on them. You know this stuff already from last week. But I got this really nice person on the phone, and I said, once we were done with business, I said, look, I have one more question for you. And she says, how can I help you? And I said, I heard that McMaster-Carr had trading cards, and I've seen pictures of them, and I want them. So she says, oh, yeah, we made some. We didn't make a lot of them, but there's some around. She says, I'll tell you what. I will wander around and find a pack, and we'll send it to you. I said, thank you. So a couple of days later, I get, how you get your messages from McMaster-Carr. This order has been, shipped and whatever. I get this kind of random message that says this order has been shipped. And I'm like, what order is that? Oh, it's my cards. And guess what showed up? Look, it's my cards. They are real. They're here. So we're going to cut them open right now, and then I'll keep going with my story. Because we cannot talk about McMaster-Carr without bringing this story in for a landing. So the first thing I noted is that they actually have a part number, okay? Except the part number is not recognized by the app, okay? But it's in the system. So you can't just plug the part number in. Sorry. Their product description is McMaster-Carr catalog, trading cards. Interesting. So here it is. It's in this beautiful foil pouch. Eric says that 003 refers to the third released pack. They have been doing it a while now. So I don't have 1 and 2, but I obviously desperately need 1 and 2. So let's cut it open. I'm just going to neatly cut it open. What would Robin do? There we go. And here they are. Oh, look. Oh, these are so much fun. Okay, here we go. Taking it from the top. We have, they're really nice. They're thick and laminated. Oh. We have the extra heavy duty chain for lifting. McMaster-Carr part number 3364T56. And there's the specs on the back. There's the QR code if you want to get that lifting eye. I'm sure they mean to do that. Caliper for small holes and grooves. And we know what brand that is. Everybody recognize that brand? MasterCard part number 2338 Alpha 3. And there's your specs. There's your QR code. I'm not going to do this for all of them. Circumference measuring ruler. That's +1 durability. You guys, this is the tight hold ball nose spring plunger. Ironically, here's the thread repairing die. Were they trying to tell me something? I think they were. We have the static charge meter. Whoa. Do not get shocked. Use your static charge meter. Oh, I've used these. The extreme vibration resistant wedge lock washer. I've actually bought these. I have some in my drawer. And what else? We got the watertight knockout plug for enclosures. Yes, Evils, you are correct. The trademark is Nordlock. They are pretty cool. The high temperature graphite lubricated sleeve bearing, which, by the way, DBX used to play bass for them back in the day. Part number 2927T58. And finally, and this is the best thing ever, the final card in my deck, which beats all the other cards, is a notebook. Take notes, make lists, or doodle. Made of high-quality materials, these notebooks resist wear and tear better than standard notebooks. A sewn binding keeps pages intact longer than glued or spiral-bound notebooks, and also lets pages lie flat for easy writing. Part number 3399, November 8. That's my deck. So thank you very much, McMaster Carr. You guys are awesome. We'll try to get you into the description of the video so that you know that we had fun with our deck of cards, which is going back into the bag here. Go on, get back in there. I don't know who made them for them, but they are very, very nice and very high quality. McMaster Carr, thank you. Okay, back to topic. I got one thing off my list. So, let's see. I could say that we did that, right? And we did that. So now let's get into these filters. So the filters that I'm using are these bag filters. And if you are following along with the Good Yellow book, the part number I'm using is 9316 Tango 211. And I'm using them in the 1 micron size. So really we're down to economics now. This works. We tested it. It is good. This is what we want. 25 pieces, $8.09. So for my $10 requirement, meets requirements. But of course, because somebody was yelling at me, I'm not going to mention Dale's name, I went ahead and went to a filtration company to get a quote. So before I get into this filter quote, I am reminded that, remember the housing that we bought from McMaster Carr, and I had to fix the gauge threads, the eye bolt threads. Those were fixes. Didn't take a lot of time, but I had to do it. The nameplate on this filter housing is now in the process of falling off. This is the second time in my shop career where I had a company making a good product. This is a $700 housing with a metal nameplate. Yeah, FormLabs, you are correct. I wasn't going to call them out, but that's exactly what it is. And the nameplate's falling off. Now, I feel bad for them because it doesn't affect the, operation of the device. But it's the second company. The first one, I'm not mentioning Suburban Tools' name today. I paid $2,500 for I paid $800 for that particular thing, and it also had a label that was falling off and smelled of not cured paint. So it's very possible that it was not cured paint that I didn't smell that is causing the nameplate not to fit. Boy, howdy, if any manufacturer wants to do one thing, it's like your naming of your product so that when people want another one, they can see it. It should be sturdy. That was kind of disappointing. But getting back to this. So I contact a filtration company, and via internet search, they referred me to or passed along my information to the area territorial regional person. Okay. So that person, again, not mentioning any names, contacts me and says, this is when I was still looking for the cartridge filters. When I abandoned the cartridge filters, I went back to the guy who gave me the quote on the cartridge filters. And I said, I want these bag filters quoted, quantity 100. It was a number. 1 micron. It has to be the same as McMaster-Carr's part number, and I give him the part number. That was the initial ask. Part number 9316T211. I'm reading the email. Okay? He responds. Now, let's all stop for a second. If you got that email and somebody said, I want that filter, okay, or the moral equivalent thereof, do you have enough information? The answer should be yes. But no, he sends me an email. Here's what the email said. I'm reading it to you. He says, to provide, tell me if this doesn't sound like cut and paste. To provide an updated quote, could you kindly confirm the info below regarding your application? Filtering water-based coolant. Recirculating or single pass? Max temp? Question mark. Max pressure? Question mark. Max flow rate? Question mark. Max contact time? Question mark. Is the application compatible with a carbon steel ring? Is the application compatible with a polypropylene ring and or a polypropylene flange? Concerns? Question mark. Goals. Receive quote for 100 pieces of number 4 bag. So, okay. I responded to him with a one-liner. I basically said, I'm not answering all those questions because I don't need applications engineering. I just need a cross-reference to that McMaster-Carr part number. Okay. So I get back an email and he says, okay, yeah, no problem. Here's your quote. Okay. Again, I'm not telling you who this is. The quote was for two different versions of the bag, one with a carbon steel ring and one with a stainless steel ring. If you looked up that McMaster-Carr part number, guess what it doesn't have? A metal ring. It's a plastic seal, which you saw pictured a few minutes ago. And I sent him an email back and I said, at this point I was done, right? I said, that does not meet my requirements because it does not match the McMaster-Carr part number. So he sends me back another email. Oh, okay. And then he cross-references blah, blah, blah. And he says, he gives me, again, 2 choices. Must be from salesman school, okay? Polyester felt, 1 micron, plain, size 4, poly P flange, welded, or same thing, poly Z flange, welded. Both of those, by the way, were $4.73. Just remember that number. Okay. And here's the tell. We are available to visit and confirm which flange best fits in existing filter bag housing. I don't know what to make of this. Like anybody in that business should be able to read the McMaster-Carr spec sheet right there and know exactly what to give me. And we're still not there yet. I am dropping this supplier. So $4.73 was the where we got to, okay? And if we go back to the McMaster-Carr, that was quantity 100. McMaster-Carr in quantity 100 is $7.14. Now, on a 100-piece order, that's about a $30 difference. McMaster-Carr, you've got my $30. Done. I'm finished with this. So Oh, and the very, very, very first email from those guys is, well, if you fill out the credit form, we'll set you up an account. It feels like very old school, net 30, blah, blah, blah. So I'm kind of done with that. And McMaster Carr is willing to do my warehousing, deliver the next morning after I need it. Of course, it won't be a quantity of 100. And I'm very happy. So I'm going to stick with McMaster Carr. Hashtag not sponsored. I do not own any stock. Yeah, Luma Labs says that Rosedale, the filter housing, is like the only people who make these. Industry standard, we buy like 600 a year. Thank you for confirming that. The quality is okay. I wasn't happy with the two things that I talked about. Wasn't happy with the name tag falling off, but otherwise it's fine. And it's made in the U.S. Yes, Eric, you are correct that those pieces of paper are heading for the shreds. So that's the story of the quotes on the filter project, and we're sticking with McMaster Carr. So the filtering works great. The configuration for quick filter changes works great. The filter looks like it's going to cost me $7.50. Let's call it $8. $8, 10 hours of heavy grinding, gets my job done. I'm extremely happy. So that's the wrap up on the filter project. We transitioned from a 30 micron band filter and a 30 micron cartridge filter in series to a 10 micron band filter. Cyclotron Products, that's where I got my band filter material. You can look them up. 10 micron band filter, 1 micron bag filter. Moved the bag filter housing from behind the grinder to up front, easy access, 10-minute change. Couldn't be happier. End of filter project. Thank you very much. So let's see. I gave you the filter part number. That's the story. If you guys have any questions about that project, put them in the doobly-doo, and we'll see if we can't answer them. I will be happy to share the McMaster Carr part numbers of the housing, the gauge, the filter bag. I think those were all the things. Those were the three major components that I bought. I've already told you that I got the band filter from Cyclotron Products. You know everything now. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. So last week, we talked about time to balance. And time to balance is the method that I've been using for balancing for at least a year before I finally got my brain straightened out to be able to communicate it to the public. And Eager Intern was a very important part of that. And also, Dylan was a very important part of that. So, as you know, the product information page for the balancing stand was completely revamped. And then behind it is another page of all the technical stuff that I promise you don't want to read, but it's there. All the formulas, all the reasoning, all the physics. I want to set that aside for the moment and just assume that you have a way to balance and a method called TTB. Oscar, welcome aboard. So the next thing we have to be able to do is to add or subtract weight from the wheel in a position on the wheel that is appropriate. So right now, I have a product called the B200 balancing ring, and it is at pfg.gg/ring. And the B200 balancing ring is designed to go on a typical hub. Put an asterisk on that word typical. and it clamps onto the protrusion, the boss on the side of the hub. And by the way, I see you guys getting your snacks ready for the World Cup, and I know it's in 15 minutes. Just, I got you. Don't worry. I'll try to get you out of class here on time. So this clamps onto that boss on that family of hubs, which probably is 90% of the surface grinders in service, at least in the world, in this world. I don't know about Mars or Venus. And you are then able to put a set screw in the holes around the ring. So that procedure is the way we add or subtract weight to then use the TTB method to observe us bringing it into balance. I want to say up front that there's a lot of ways to do this. So the balancing ring, the B200 balancing ring, is one way to do this. When I got my Okamoto grinder, it came with a wheel on a hub, and it was the style that had the 3 little weights in a groove, and you would move the 3 little weights around. That's a perfectly reasonable approach to adding weight and picking a place to put it. There are other methods. Robin and I were talking about a couple of things, but a while ago, Robin was teaching me the method he uses for doing that last little teeny itty bitty bit where you could rub the side of the wheel with another stone, made for, chosen for purpose, and take a little bit of mass off the heavy side. We're talking milligrams here. And then we got to talking about improvements to the balancing ring. And I'm not going to dive into that because it's just ideas right now, but we're looking at improvements to the balancing ring that are going to attack 2 things. Number one, it'll give us a little bit finer control, which in my experience, I haven't pined for getting to the 25-second limit, getting inside the 25-second limit as taught by the TTB method. But it's really logical, and I like it. And so I got some ideas going. But the second thing is to be able to remove the restriction of you have to be using those hubs. And you guys have seen flavors of balancing rings that replace the washer in a hub under the hub's nut, and then gives you a place to balance. Great idea. So there's some stuff that we're looking at, and hopefully, if I get some time from the day job, I can work on that design, and we may be able to crank something out that incorporates both ideas. So I'll keep you posted. So learning how to use, I'm going to just focus on the B200 balancing ring for the moment. Actually, no, let me get the 3-weight thing out of the way. So the 3-weight method, which is pretty common in industry, especially on big wheels. When you get a big wheel, they almost always have the 3-weight capability for balancing in the middle. But also when you get to the really big wheels, if you get onto the really fancy grinders, they have these automated systems, and that's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do. They have these automated systems which will have accelerometers. It will measure the vibrations. It will calculate the position of the wheel. It will peck a couple of grains out of the side of the wheel and get balanced that way. We're not going to get into that. We're running a small grinder. We're at low cost. We're just trying to get to really well balanced without spending a bunch of money. So if you have a 3-weight hub, which is available in the small sizes, my method would be to set the 3 weights equidistant from each other. Full stop. Okay. Put it on the balancing stand. Find the heavy side. Okay. And start marching the weight, two weights at a time, symmetrically, if you can do it, toward the light side. Okay, you march those weights toward the light side, a little bit. Now you measure it again, and now you start deriving your period time from the TTB method. You write it down. By the way, writing it down is pretty important. You write it down. Did you get better or did you get worse? If you got better, keep going in the same direction based on what you've observed. And you just march this so that the period starts going up and up and up. And how many seconds is enough? Correct. 25 seconds is enough. So that's how you would approach this with the 3 weights on that style of hub, okay? With the B200 balancing stand, you would do something similar. You would find the light side, okay? And then you would take the side that has the set screw, okay? In this case, the set screw's at 12 o'clock on this ring that I'm showing you. It's right under the logo. And we would consider that the heavy side of the balancing ring. And you put that right where you found the light side of the wheel. And what I do is I put 2 pairs of set screws on either side of that. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Spence, that's really heavy. 4 set screws plus the set screw that holds the wheel on, or the ring on. And the answer is yes. Because what you want to do is flip it. So step 1, using the balancing ring, is flip it. So if you do all that and then you put it back on the balancing stand, and sure enough, the light side is not the light side anymore, it's the heavy side, you're good. Because you now know that between nothing, or between ring only and ring loaded up with 4 set screws on the heavy side, there is a solution. And Eric, this is why you must go to the light side. This is the way. So this is not, don't take this lightly. If you bound the problem, if you flip the problem where the light side becomes the heavy side, okay, then you know the answer is between the two and you are able to solve the problem. That is a very important frame of mind. Now, you can, if you flipped it, did you flip it? Okay. Now, you can start marching the set screws toward the light side while measuring the period given to you by TTB. Write it down and keep making little changes. And as TTB, the number starts growing, when you cross 25 seconds, you are done. Okay? And that's how you use the B200 balancing ring. Now, if you want to use chewing gum held on by super glue and a Band-Aid to add mass to your wheel, that's up to you. But we know how to measure it. But that's the other half of balancing, is you have to move some mass to the light side until, and here's the sentence that matters, the center of mass of the system is equal to the center of rotation of the system. When that happens, the TTB period goes to infinity. Okay? In other words, trust me, it's a long time. But if you get over 25 seconds, you're done. And if you want to know why that is true, go to the technical paper at pfg.gg/TTB, and it'll tell you why, because we're down in the teeny weeny itty bitty bits. Okay. A very important feature of the B200 balancing ring that is hard to replicate in any other method is that if you balance it and you take out your Sharpie and you mark where it was and you remove the ring, you're back where you started, and you could check it if you were of a mind to. So you could say, oh, look, I was right. This has got a TTB of 5 seconds, and you put your ring back on it, Match up your Sharpie mark, tighten it up again, not too much, tighten it up, and measure it again and say, oh, I'm over 25 seconds. You can back up. If you are doing a destructive method to remove mass or even to add mass, and you can't back up, you're kind of starting to make a mess if you head in the wrong direction. So that's one thing I like about the balancing ring is it's completely reversible. Okay, you could remove it. Now you could make the argument that the same is true with the 3 weights, but not as cleanly, not as absolutely as removing the ring. So that's what you got to get good at. You got to get good at using your balancing ring or whatever method you're using to work side by side with your measurement capability, which is TTB, time to balance, on the BS8 balancing stand, okay? Or a balancing stand that you built. Have at it, whatever you like. And this is the way to march toward a balanced wheel. And the difference is astounding, because I can't tell you how many times I've received, some commercial piece of equipment or whatever, and it's got a ground side, and they're very proud of their grinding, and then I get the PFG Stones out, and a couple of licks with the PFG Stones. It's like, whoa, baby, maybe you should balance your wheel, dude. And this will make the difference between grinding that you hide with the Scotch-Brite and grinding you could be really proud of. I remember the first time it was a cast iron. It's like an angle plate or something. I don't remember which part it was, but I did the grind, and then I got my PFG Stones out, as I always do, and I hit it after the grind, because it will teach me. It will tell me about any imbalance. It will tell me about any weirdness. And I saw nothing. It was beautiful. It was fantastic. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you got everything lined up. So that's the story. That's the other half of balancing. If you guys have questions, happy to answer them. If you have any announcements, complaints, recommendations for sushi, you can put them in the chat, and we will be happy to share that with everybody. And if I don't see anything, I think we're going to wrap it up in time, so that those of you who want to go watch this football game, I think you call it, it starts in 2 minutes. Yes, Eric, this is the way. TTB is the way. Well, with that, I enjoyed this. We did not get a visit from some of our members who are traveling, but maybe next week we'll get a visit from some of them. They know who they are. Oh, and by the way, customer in Florida, yes, your 6-inch stones are heading out first thing in the morning. Promise. With that, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you to my customers. Thanks to my friends. Thanks to everybody that teaches me stuff, because I like to learn. And we'll see you next week under one condition, and one condition only, that you get flat and stay flat. And we'll see you on Sunday. Take care.